What's going on, traders? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. So thank you guys again for joining us for another live stream within our YouTube channel. Pretty much what this video is going to be consisting of is kind of me analyzing certain stocks within pre-market hours. Right now it's 6:02 a.m. And during Mountain Standard Time, the market or the stock market doesn't actually open until 6:30 a.m. So we have about 28 minutes. It's something that you guys have enjoyed in the past, and I'm simply again just going to analyze certain stocks within my watch list, and I'm going to be talking about pretty much what's the different things that I'm going to be using, as in like my whole setup. Right. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. I want to thank you guys again for putting time aside and join us for this live stream. I do want to let you guys know, for those that are here for the first time, the link is provided for you down below if you guys haven't joined our free networking group. It's a little bit over 20,500 members now worldwide. And the thing that we do best is we share best practices, share mistakes, and effort to promote growth. So let me go ahead and just start with that. I'm going to start sharing my screen and talk to you guys exactly what it is that I like to have on my screen and set up and preparing for the market open, right? So this is me sharing it. So I have my YouTube channel right here. I have the TechBot Solutions Facebook platform. So if you click on the link, it will take you here. For those that aren't a part of the group chats already, all the links are provided for you again on this top pin post. And all the links right here are to the group chats. Now we have two of the group chats that I mainly use. This is a TechBot Solutions main or general group chat, and then this is the pre-market group chat where we like to talk about possibly some pre-market movers, as you guys can see by the title. Now, I also like to use my primary pick checklist and having certain stocks within that I filtered out, and then putting the support and resistance, almost having my own game plan before the market actually opens or before I decide to jump on in to calculate like percentage risk or percentage potential for profit. Now, I use a TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim platform, and the reason I use this is an effort to get a better understanding on where people are buying and selling. I really like the setup that TD Ameritrade offers. This is a free platform that you can utilize simply by having a social security number within the United States. So I have made a video specifically talking about how you guys can gain access to this. So right now, even during pre-market hours, it looks like we had a little bit of a push for NAK, hit a resistance at 169, which is good because it actually bounced from 160, which is what we were predicting as of yesterday. So going a little bit further back, we know that the support is at $1.60 and the resistance is at $1.70, as it only peaked out at 169. And you might ask, how is it that I might know that? Well, I've been analyzing NAK, or at least following it, for quite a while. One of the biggest things that we talked about was that it was in a consistent downward trend for the past 3 days, from highs of 183. Continued to see a downward trend, flatlined really at this 160. It, didn't really move at all yesterday, and it flatlined at 160. So it truly identified that as a support. And usually what I like to use pre-market hours for is to make sure that this support or resistance is still valid. It used to have a previous resistance at 165. As you can see, it broke that, and now even during pre-market hours, it looks like it's really showing signs of upward momentum. As you can see here, this is the SMA indicator. The red line indicates kind of the SMA, or the daily moving average, and this blue line indicates, you want this to be above the red line to indicate upward momentum. And as you can see, we are above it. It is seeing somewhat of a downward trend, and the reason you would see that is because it hit 169 and is back at 167 if I'm not mistaken, but it's still showing an upward trend, and that's what we want to see, and hopefully break this resistance. So I have an alert once it breaks above 168, but because it broke the resistance at 165, like we know, old resistance levels become new support levels. So I'm simply going to put my alert here when it goes below or breaks below the old resistance, which is now the new support. Alrighty, but let's really focus on what it is that I like to focus on. And this is just, again, from my own point of view. So I like looking at volume. Volume is one of the biggest indicators that I like to focus on. And it looks like PBR has, really good volume, if not the highest out of all the stocks within my watch list. Now, it hit highs of 925, and that was as of yesterday. So during pre-market hours, let's go ahead and focus on this a little bit more. During pre-market hours, it held above the support at about $9, and then right as the market opened, it saw an upward trend to 925, peaked out, hit its resistance, and then started seeing a downward trend and continuously started breaking every support on the way down. Now, I did end up trading this with my Robinhood account, and because I didn't have any day trades, I had to hold it for a little bit longer. And I am down quite a bit because of the specific type of hold, right? And that's why I talk so much about the importance of not holding a stock overnight. But what's the potential for this one? So this one can actually have potential for actually swing trades. And what I mean by that is, although I did end up holding, is it a bad hold? Well, realistically, if you guys don't know too much about PBR, if you go a little bit further back, it had a huge drop because of some uncertainty within the Brazilian economy. And because it built this gap, it has this gap to make up as well, right? So that's what we call as gappers. But we need to make sure that we stay above this resistance that it previously had at $9, and we're not doing that. It's actually going back to the support that it previously had, and that's essentially at that $8.40 support. So if you could see here, a couple of days ago, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4 days ago, had a previous support at about $8.50. So what does that mean? Well, really, old supports tend to repeat themselves. So it's seen a downward trend, and during pre-market hours, it looks like it hit lows of about $8.58. So can it continue to drop and most likely bounce at $8.50? Of course. Is it going to do that? I mean, we definitely don't know 100%, but that's why we have to set up a plan. So as of now, during pre-market hours, it looks like the support is at $8.58, and it's peaking out at about $8.84, and it's seen a slight upward trend. It is I'm using the Bollinger Bands right here, and then it looks like it's staying pretty well in between these lines, and it's really bouncing from this 870. Okay, and as you guys can see, there's quite a bit of volume, so I'm just simply gonna put my little analysis and put $8.60 as a support, and $8.84 was the resistance that I was able to identify. Now I'm going to follow up with this one. It looks like I have an alert if it goes below 860 because I identified that as a previous support, and my resistance or if it goes above and breaks above that, then that would be good to know. Now, JNUG was one that was being talked about within our group chat, so let me go ahead and look a little bit more into it. All right. I really like to use our group as exposure, but one of the things that I want you guys to focus on, and this is why I find pre-market hours to be so important, it kind of projects almost how the whole day is going to play out. Now, tell me exactly what it is that you guys see. Again, in no way do I want to influence your guys' trades or decision on to jump into anything, but when it comes down to support and resistance, tell me if you guys see this, and this is the whole point of performing technical analysis. So I see that there was a previous support, right, at $5.68. It bounced there, right? Great. Now it looks like there was a previous resistance. What is this? 2 days ago, right before it closed at about $18. And it's crazy how it bounced here, right, as of yesterday, at about what is this? $16.41, and we called the bounce yesterday. A lot of people were able to jump on in and lock in decent profit from the dollar gain that it had from yesterday. But now focus on this. Previous resistance was at $18. Now, as it was approaching $18 during pre-market hours, it flatlined and couldn't break above 18. So what does that mean? The resistance at $18 is still valid. It started seeing a downward trend, and now it's holding kind of like above 1760. So it looks like it really got congested. As you can see, the Bollinger Bands, when they get really congested, it looks like it's either going to make a pop either up or down. But when it came down to it, it ended up breaking below, in a sense, the support of $18, and then continue to see a downward trend. Now, what's to happen, right? Where is it most likely going to bounce? Or realistically, let me see if I can get back a little bit further. Is if JNUG wants to continue seeing an upward trend, it looks like it had an old resistance at about $17.50. Now, that's most likely where we're going to be expecting the bounce to be anything above that. So if it holds above 1750, and in between, $18, then that's showing signs of upward momentum, and that's good. But if you guys know anything about JNUG or JDST, they've been very volatile the past couple of days because of the different, just actions that our economy has shown, and just the different news that has been going on, right? So this is where it really comes down to the fundamentals of really buying low and selling high. So you really need to focus on, putting all your emotions completely away from when it comes to trading and really understand what the graph is telling you. What I feel comfortable doing is, okay, I know the resistance is at $18, and if it breaks above 18, then I know we'll have a pop and most likely continue to rise, right? I have the potential to rise all the way to, 1964. Now, does it, is it most likely going to see a downward trend? I would actually most likely like to see this drop back to this, 1640 support or this 1568 support. And then for it to bounce, show signs of upward momentum, and then make my decision to jump on in. That's exactly what it is that I wanted to do. And I just want to make sure that I get in at the best price, right? So focusing on this, I want to know when JNUG breaks above $18. So I'm going to go ahead, right click, create alerts, and then when it goes above 18, I want to know when it breaks below this current support that it has at 1750. And then with that, I can stay up to date on, it's heading down to, the support at 1650. So then I'll put my support or my alert here when it drops below and heading towards the 1650 support. And now I'm alerted if it breaks above resistance, and if it does break above resistance, I know that it's most likely going to be gapping up to the next resistance after $18, and that is about $19 essentially to 1960. The RSI indicator indicates currently that it's way oversold or overbought, so that's why it saw a downward trend, and is now closer to the 32 RSI. So it's actually not that bad, but then for SMA it's showing a downward trend. And when it comes to trading, I need to make sure that one of the criteria within my prime berry pick is that it shows signs or above EMA or SMA. You always want to make sure that you're buying on the rise to sell for a profit, rather than buying on a downward trend, just because you never truly know where it's going to bounce. I mean, you can identify supports and resistance levels, but you never know 100%. I want to make sure that, the best way to invest in anything is, especially when it's in an upward, trend. It looks like it's most likely going to break the support. It's really flatlining here at 1760. So, I mean, hopefully that holds above 1760 and we can see an upward trend. But I have my alert set, so we'll go from there. Now let me focus on DGAS. Was one that I talked about that actually ended up gapping, and just I got really upset because I actually didn't end up not jumping into it, and I know I shouldn't be letting my emotions come into play, but that was just my mistake. But I actually called it when it was at lows of 17, and the reason I called it to lows of 1797, the reason I knew it was going to bounce again, you never know 100% what's going to happen. But it was previously at 1705, and even if you go a little bit further back, it tends to bounce pretty well when it's at around that $18 mark. So that's why I just called out the bounce, and it did just that from 18. The following day, it hit highs of about almost $20. And I got just upset that I didn't jump in and I wasn't quick enough when it came to trading DGAS. I was actually focusing on another stock, so that was just my mistake. Understanding that 18 is essentially a good buy based on this 20-day analysis, and a good sell point is currently kind of where it was, which is $21. Going back to performing this 2-day analysis, it had this huge drop, right? It built this margin, so I would actually feel more comfortable buying it at closer to 19, but at the bounce, making sure that I'm buying at an upward trend. So right now, it looks like it had a solid drop, but it looks like the support is more around that 1970. So I'd like it to drop a little bit more. RSI is a little too high for me, so again, I do need it to drop a little bit more, and for the volume to stay where it's at. So I'm going to put my alerts when it drops below 1917, create alert, and when it drops below. But also I understand that there's a resistance. As you can see, it dropped below that. So now there's a new resistance at $20, and right now it's trading at like 1996. So I'm going to simply go here, create my alerts, and then when it goes above the resistance. But it looks like it's pretty much going to be breaking the resistance anytime soon. So we'll take a look at that. So I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Let's see if I can get any of your guys' comments pulled up. Give me one quick second, and then I should be able to perform a technical analysis on whatever stock you guys would like me to perform one on. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Alrighty. Yep, it looks like it just broke above that resistance. That's so funny. I always have like one random person. I think you guys always tune into my live stream. So, but I get a good amount of likes, but there's always this one person that dislikes it. It's pretty funny. I think they go out of the way to always just make sure they give me that solid dislike. So, well, thank you for all that, effort. Head and shoulders on pre. Okay, so David Alarcon says head and shoulders on DGAS pre-market. Yeah, I mean, I think during pre-market hours we have a pretty good understanding of how overall it's going to project. I would actually like to see a little bit of a pullback right as the market opens and get closer to the support at 19, start seeing an upward trend, and then make the decision to jump on in. But doesn't look like. Okay, so looks like my Bollinger Bands might be a little too much right now, so I'll go ahead and knock those out. So I simply go like that, and then I can close them out. So Andre, hope this looks a little bit cleaner for you. AMD is a good one, so thanks for that one. And that was by RTJ Music. So, had a little pullback all the way down to 1080, and 1080 has been a previous support. But is that margin of profit there? So something that we talk about is it's all about calculated risk, right? And is that margin for profit that it builds, is it worth it? AMD hasn't been actually moving all that much, at least not the way that we want it to. It's built its resistance at about $11, as you guys can tell. What I mean by that is it tends to bounce around 1070 and tends to have a resistance at $11. So what does that mean? Well, it builds that margin of profit. So obviously, if you identify the low points and the high points within that area, then that's how you get in at a good buy. Now, this margin for profit is about 2.5%. So for those that are doing the $1,000 challenge, just know the importance of actually just locking in consistent profit. And if you stay above 2.34%, average a day for the 3 times of the 5-day period with this Robinhood $1,000 challenge, you can easily, with the numbers and the power of compounding interest, grow your account from $1,000 to $20,000. But again, it comes down to consistency, cutting losses short, and locking in profits. Overall. So it definitely does have that margin of profit. So I'm going to set my alerts. It looks like it dropped to lows of 1080. I'd like it to drop a little bit closer or below this 1070 support. So I'm going to put when it drops below 1080 and breaks that support. And also when it breaks above the resistance. As we can see, it has broken above the $11 resistance, but doesn't really hold. And what that means is, if it breaks above this 1110, resistance, then maybe we can have a runner all the way back up to this 1160 resistance, and then from there, I need to go a little bit further back. Had a previous resistance at $13.16. So it looks like we have about 9 more minutes until market open. I'm simply going to set my alert here. And when it goes above, perfect. Looks like Ceno might be a gapper. Ooh. This is going to be a good one to follow, not necessarily because it's mainly done majority of its action all during pre-market hours. And this is one that, this is something that I want to talk about. Again, you guys trade whatever it is that you guys feel comfortable with. It looks like it hit from lows of 273 all the way to highs of about 350. So use this group as exposure. Use this group, if someone was talking about Ceno within our Technical Solutions group chat, then so we have JLBS, could run or whatever it is, right, that people are talking about. Understand that you should be the final decision maker on whatever it is that you end up choosing to invest in. Understand that when there's huge momentum stocks like this, that you have to understand the overall resistance and support. So it looks like it has an overall resistance for Ceno within the past, what is this, 10 days at $4. Right now it's about $3.50. So then it gives you this margin of potential profit if it hits that same old resistance of 13%. Now it also, since it gapped up so much, if it drops down, it has this potential for loss of about 20%. So again, the potential for profit isn't there when the potential for loss is so much greater. Well, it comes down to you on how it is that you want to approach this. Now, with momentum stocks, you want to make sure that you cut losses quick because pullbacks are inevitable, right? It's very common, and it's something that I want to make sure that I capture within this, pre-market live stream. Although this one does show to be, pretty profitable, just understand that if it most likely breaks, this right now it's trading at like 346 to 348. If it breaks above the 350, then we're most likely going to see it continue to rise. But usually what happens is with these stocks, as the market opens, you're going to see people start locking in profits. You're going to see a pullback, and then you're going to see a bounce. I'm actually expecting the bounce to be a little bit closer to the support at 320. And then when it does end up bouncing, we still have this margin of profit from its highs of pre-market and its lows of where it most likely will bounce. Shoot. Of about, almost 10%. So is this one going to be worth it? Well, I really want to be alerted when it drops below, 320 or 330. And make sure that I catch it at the bounce if I decide to jump on an RSI indicator showing that it's way overbought. So, I'm most likely going to be expecting a pullback. And then the SMA indicator showing signs of upward momentum. So this is just one that I'm going to have to follow up with. But I also want to be alerted if it breaks the resistance that it currently has. This is during pre-market hours. Oh. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. I really hope that, if it does, go ahead and let me know down in the comments or in the live stream. And then that's really just it. So RTJ Music just says that confirm my thoughts. Well, I'm glad. So JLBS, you guys are asking me to do that. Now this will be the last one that I analyzed. Oh, this one's actually not bad. Wow, that one gapped up pretty. Okay, let me go a little bit further back. I have seen a lot of activity with JLBS within the past couple of days. Not sure exactly. Oh, okay, well now I know why. I had a huge gap up, saw a downward trend, saw pullbacks, all yesterday. Identified its support here, and the reason it did that is, let's see. So it's starting to see a downward trend and understand that, right? Started seeing a downward trend and it's having like pops up, and it had that yesterday as well. So I had a drop all the way down to 131, saw an upward a green candlestick, so saw an upward trend. But most likely is going to continue coming back to the support that it had at 88 to 86 cents. Now, understanding that is, you have to make sure that if you don't have day trades available and you decide on jumping into JLBS, that's probably not the best decision, especially when it's on a downward trend. So understand that it's a get in, get out type of thing with JLBS, as it's more of a true penny stock with how much it's been like almost overhyped, right? From lows of about 80 cents to highs of about $1.77. That's 100% profit. So for those that jumped in, great. But just know that this was most likely a pump and dump. It is now continuously seeing a downward trend, and most likely will come back to the support. If not, will continue to drop. So in saying that is, there's nothing wrong with day trading it if you do it correctly. But just know that you should understand the support and resistance. So right now the current support's about 122. Current resistance is about 148. So what I'd like to wait for, there's going to be a resistance at 150, is for a pullback. So for there to be, again, a drop and then start seeing a bounce. And in doing that, you just want to make sure that you get in at the bounce and set up a plan. So let's say it bounces at the support at 122, but the support is really at 120, right? As you can see, lows of 119 during pre-market hours. Simply what you can do is, if that's the support, that's where it bounced at, just know that if it has a pullback and holds above that support, then that support is still valid. It starts seeing an upward trend, you decide to jump on in, just know that 119 is the support, so then you can cut losses anything below 119. So let's say you decide to jump on in at 125. You wait for 2 green candlesticks to show signs of upward momentum. You jump on in after the pullback at 125. And what's your plan? Well, your plan is to sell back at where it was around 150. So from 125, your potential for profit to about 148 is about 18.49%. Your potential for loss from 125, if you have your stop loss really where you should, or where I would, again, this is just where I would put it, is around the 19 or 18, let's see, $19 mark, and that's 4.845% loss. And again, that is quite a bit of a loss because of, when it comes to this dollar stock, it comes down to the matter of almost 1 cent being worth 1%, and if you're losing 6% because it's a $1.20 stock, then you're nearly losing 5%, which is a lot, especially with this $1,000 challenge. For those that are day trading, you want to make sure that you minimize your loss and probably keep it less than what your average profit should be, and that should be less than 2.34%. So that's just kind of how I look at it. I usually use the prime berry pig checklist to analyze it. So let's say that I was about to jump into JLBS. I decide to jump on in, like I said, let's say just got 122. I get in a little bit closer to the bounce. My target sell price is 148, and my target stop loss, again, where I agreed, regardless of what happens to stop loss out, is at 119. Then I know that my potential for profit is 2.46%, and my potential for, my potential for loss is 2.46. My potential for profit is, 17.56, and then it does the calculations with $1,000 invested. Max loss $15, max profit out of the 17 is 175. And the primary pick checklist, if you guys haven't found this already, is within the TechBud Solutions Facebook platform. You simply use this search bar on the left-hand side, and you put the PBP checklist. And when you search it up, actually it just has it right here, so you can download the spreadsheet with the Excel sheet, and it has, all this is blank, but it has just stuff so you can input your watch list. This is where you filter out stocks every day, as you should be performing a technical analysis on 15 minutes to 20 minutes every day, and then you can calculate your percentage risk. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Market's about to open, guys. Let's make sure we're ready for that. I'm really looking at, I'm really going to be looking for some pullbacks. So I want to see how PBR is doing. And market just opened, so let's go. Let's see. We're going to break this forward. So all my alerts are most likely going to be going off. Let's see if we can get any. So resistance again at $18 from JNUG. Oh, Ceno's like gapping up. 4. Not really. Nope. There goes a pullback. There's a pullback. You see it's breaking the support at, it's holding above 340. That's funny. All right. PBR, okay, NAK. 169, saw somewhat of a pullback at 167. Ceno. Ooh, okay, this is what I was talking about. Not too sure. Again, saw a pullback. We called the support that it was around 1320, and is now seeing a drop again. This is why it's so important to lock in profits, and this is why to not wait for not just jump on in. So as long as it starts seeing signs of upward momentum, then that's a good indicator. We can wait for the bounce, and it's actually bouncing right now. So I'm actually going to get my Robinhood account ready. Not even one green candlestick did it see until it ended up selling. So let's see. All right, we're at 1330, but it's still seeing a downward trend. DGAS is gapping up. Great. Okay, now it's showing a green candlestick. Nope, now that it's red, DGAS went above. Again, I got it loaded on my phone. Started seeing a pullback. That's so funny. Like we called it almost perfect at that 320 support. It bounced at 322, started seeing an upward trend, but it's slowly, downwards, seeing a downward trend. So this is why you want to wait for like 2 to 3 green candlesticks if you can, just so you don't have to stop loss out. So we're on the third candlestick, fourth candlestick for the market open. So we're 3 to 4 minutes in. AMD fell below the support. So again, all these pullbacks during the market open, and that's why we set these alerts so we stay up to date on kind of what's going on. We're seeing a green candlestick. It's gapping up. Will it break the resistance at 340? And now we have to calculate kind of like what's our percentage risk, right? So if we can get in anything around like the 320 and stop loss out anything below 320, our percentage risk is about less than 1%. And then, okay, just broke above. So from this low point to this high point of where it's been, that's about 10%. So let's see if it could actually play out. So I hope that some of you saw potential in um, Ceno on the drop, and were able to make the decision to jump on in. I haven't decided or haven't made my decision to jump on in with my Robinhood account since um, I'm still in my position with PBR. So again, just because I can't capitalize on something doesn't mean that I can't share my whole thought process. And maybe you guys, if you guys perform your own technical analysis, can see the potential. But I really want to see what you guys are saying. So let's go with the Technical Solutions group chat. Sweet. Max saying that he was waiting for the Ceno and JLBS pullback. I want to see actually how JLBS is actually doing. JLBS. Just like we said, slight pullback down to 130. We actually said that it was, or I predicted more of a 120 pullback, but you never know 100%. It saw a pullback down to the 130 and is now back up to 145. So that potential for profit was 10% plus. So I mean, we did a good call out on that. Thank you guys again for shutting it out. Again, it's hitting its resistance at 145, as you can see that it flatlined there. So that's more at where almost a sell point should be at, and then you're most likely going to see another pullback. Finally, PBR is starting to move up. Hopefully, we can break the resistance at 870, at 880, and see an upward trend. And our side is not looking, too good for me. It's more on the overbought side, so I want to make sure that we can get in and get out. But again, it's not really moving the way that I wanted to. NAK is one that I was watching. It looks like that resistance at 169 is still pretty solid. Not really selling or moving much. Saw somewhat of a pullback right as market open to lows of 165. And why is it that it's at 165? Well, just like we said, old supports or old resistance levels become new support levels and vice versa. And we called out the support that was going to be at 165 because that's where the old resistance was, and it held perfectly right above that. So get a good entry, and now it's at around 166 to 167. So now it has this margin of potential profit from 165 to 169, 2.43%. Again, what Robinhood $1,000 challenge should be, and it looks like it's moving up. So let's see how that goes. But I'm really, I might jump in with my Fidelity account. I really like how Ceno is looking. It is seeing somewhat more of pullbacks, and that's not always necessarily what you want to see, but I think the potential for profit is there. $324 seems to be a pretty good entry. It's actually just, no, 322. And if it breaks below 320, then that's definitely not a good sign. So make sure you guys have your stop loss if you guys are in it. Again, it's way better to cut losses short than to ride it all the way down and then hope for the best. I mean, Ceno jumping back up to this $3.27, resistance isn't always going to be necessarily very realistic, especially with this being more of a stock that can be easily manipulated. Just know that it can, drop down pretty quickly as well. Let's see. We're almost going into the first 10 minutes. of the market. It's holding at 330, so it is still showing that it to be valid, but now it's struggling to hold above 330. Let's see. Wow, it's really gapping up. It's solid. 325 tends to be a solid support. 340 to 345 tends to be a solid resistance. So it has this potential for profit. Again, it's all about identifying the low points and the high points, right? That's what I'm trying to focus on, of about 6.5%. So that's, ideal. Again, a pullback, you have to be quick with your ins and outs of this. PBR finally, don't want to jinx it, but it's at the resistance at $8.80. Hopefully, again, this level of trading that it had was now between these lows of like 865 to 880, broke above 880 right now. So now it's going to be trading on how it used to be trading, and that's between 880 to the resistance that it has at 890. So now it was, because a couple days it was trading between this, 880 was an old support, and 890 was the previous resistance. So now it's seen an upward trend, and that's exactly what we want to see. And I'm actually going to sell most likely my position. I'm going to follow with the trailing stop loss with my Fidelity count. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's building up pretty quickly, but just know that 880 is the support. So if it breaks below the support of 880, then that's most likely going to see a downward trend, and that's what we're seeing. So let's see how this plays out. If you can see during pre-market hours, it peaked out at 884, and that's almost exactly where it peaked out at right now. So that's a resistance that we're going to have to break. If you see this huge green candlestick, and then this little whisker peaked out at this 884, I think that's why it's struggling to break above that point. But I think with the volume that it's seeing, we shouldn't really have a problem breaking through. Just need to get over to 885, and it's just too many sellers at 885, 884. Oh, we got buyers, broke it. Perfect. Nice, nice. But 885 obviously going to be a resistance. As you can tell, all day yesterday, that's really where it held at that 885. And I mean, long term with PBR, I definitely do see the potential for it to go back up. It really just comes down to how patient you want to be. And I tend to see more profit usually with my day trades. But again, this $1,000 challenge with this restriction of the day trades has definitely been a huge obstacle for me to overcome, since when I used to trade with the over $25,000 in my Robinhood account, didn't really have to worry too much about that. But again, it's a whole learning experience. And that's the whole point that we started this challenge, is to share my mistakes and share my best practices, an effort for me to, talk about how I overcame them, an effort to you guys to learn from my mistakes and my best practices, so we can work together and learn together, right? And that's the whole point of growing our accounts together. So I hope you guys understand that. But I do want to make sure you guys understand that I'm not, just trading with my Robinhood account, as I don't want to say that like, you know, I'm just not okay with the profits I make with that, but I definitely want to make sure that overall, for my overall income, I do use day trading as a source of income. So that's why I still trade with my Fidelity account, with my normal risk account of $3,000. So I'm actually going to put a stop loss at 880, just because if it breaks below that, I want to make sure that um, I just cut my losses. I'm in at an average of 883 as of yesterday. So nothing huge. My potential for loss is pretty small. But the potential for profit, again, the upside I think is so much greater. But I know that 880 is a solid support. I'd hate for me to continue writing it down. And I'd rather cut my losses short, buy in at the lower price, and then write it back up, especially with my larger accounts. Since my average through my Robinhood account, I talked about it being my mistake that I made yesterday, is at, let me double check, 893. So that's not the best, position. But I know long term with or for a swing with PBR, it's not horrible, especially from where it stands. It just means that I might have to hold a little bit longer. But I overall have my max stop loss, and that's at 850. If it breaks below that, just because you always want to make sure that no matter what it is that you believe in when it comes to trading, that you understand that okay, that you understand that you should always have at least a max stop loss to cut losses, right? Because you're never going to be always 100% correct. So it looks like the 885 support or resistance is actually pretty solid. It wasn't able to break that. It's now building a new support at 880. So now it's bouncing between this area, and that's what we want to see. But just know that we don't want to drop below 880. And if we do, we want to cut losses short and then jump back in at the bounce. And the RSI indicator was indicating that it was way overbought, right? And that just makes sense. SMA indicator shows signs of upward momentum, so that's good. So I'm just gonna have to set my alert for this, and then follow up with it. But I want to make sure that I don't take too much of your guys' time within this live stream. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. It looks like right now we're still holding above this 320 support. So it's amazing that we called it out perfectly. But we want to make sure that, again, that we get in at a good price. So if my position for PBR ends up getting filled with my Fidelity account, again, I don't like to risk. Although on that account I have a little bit over $30,000. Just like how I used to trade with my Robinhood account, I don't like to risk more than $3,000 per trade, meaning that my positions overall, since I have a max loss of about 1.5 to usually 2.5%, I want to minimize my loss. And if I trade multiple stocks, it's going to be a little bit harder and more difficult for me to do so, especially with the $3,000 positions. So I want to make sure that I know that the current support is at 323, and that if my position for PBR ends up getting filled, then I can lock in my profits, get in anything above 323 as long as it shows signs of upward momentum, sell close to this 340 resistance. So again, my potential for profit is about 5 to 6%, so it's great. And my potential for loss, if I get in at 323, let's say, and I cut losses anything below that, so 320 was the support, so I'll cut losses that's less than 1% loss. The risk for losing $30 and the potential for making about 5%, so about $150 to $175. I think that's worth it, right? And again, when it comes down to an investor, it's all about calculated risk. If it makes sense to you, then you go for it. And you're not here to prove yourself to anyone. So one of the last things that I want to say about closing this live stream is I want to thank each and every one of you guys for all your hard work, waking up so early every morning and planning out your trades. I want to personally let you guys know, based on everything that I choose to invest myself in, it's been one of the biggest blessings that I now get to work with each and every one of you guys every morning, and it's something that I look so forward to. And it's because I surround myself with people that I feel that make me a better person. And that means each and every one of you joining this live stream indicates that you guys don't want to be, just like everyone else, right? You don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck, and you're not just satisfied with a normal 9-to-5 job. Is there anything wrong with a 9-to-5 job? Definitely not. But being able to create different sources of income like we're doing right now and continuing to do so within the years to come, just understand one thing, that you are different. But the way that you're going to achieve, the success and this form of success, if your plan is to live a little bit more of a financially free life, work a little bit less hours, and whatever it is that you choose to dedicate your time to, you want to work a little bit more at home and less at the office, just know the best way to do that is to be the best and understand and learn the most in whatever it is that you're investing in. So if it's with day trading or investing in stocks, if it comes to the buying and selling of flipping homes or products or cars or whatever it is, be the best in what it is that you're choosing to invest your time in. Learn the market, learn how to trade, learn how to flip cars, learn how to buy and sell houses, and plan out how you're going to be successful in this. Man. Oh, NAK went up. So, but overall, I want to wish you guys, again, the best of luck, but it really doesn't come down to luck. It comes down to how hard you work on planning out your success and sticking to it. If the numbers make sense, if the plan makes sense on how you're going to achieve this form of success, then just know it really comes down to you on how disciplined you are and how much you want it. So anyone can make excuses, and regardless of where your position is in life, just know that you are really the only potential decision maker on where you end up making your life end up coming out to be, right? So what I mean by that is just, if you want to use excuses, but just know that you can be successful in anything that you choose to dedicate yourself to. It really just comes down to the time and the effort that you're willing to put towards it. Um, and I hope you guys understand that. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in, and for all the love and the support. If you guys can like and subscribe, and possibly share this content with someone that you think will enjoy it or benefit from it, that's the whole point we make these videos. If there's anything that you guys have to suggest for me, please direct message me within the TechBud Solutions group chat platform. Again, the link is provided for you down below, so you can join the Facebook platform. Then once you get accepted, the TechBud Solutions group chat platform. But overall, let me know what is it that I can continue to do to make sure that I continue to create content that's specifically unique and beneficial for each and every one of you, because that's what I want to continue to do. Thank you guys. I'll follow up on my next video, and that's going to be most likely around 5:30 Mountain Standard Time, about how my positions ended up coming out to be on NAK, PBR, and hopefully SI and O if I can actually get out of my position on PBR. But thank you guys again. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Get some work done, plan out your day, and make sure it's efficient and worth your time. So take care, guys. Let's make sure that we end the week on a green note. Bye.